In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there?
Failed former president and now convicted felon Donald Trump's speech after being convicted was an absolute sweaty and disheveled mess. Trump completely incoherent, hair doing something very strange, looking haggard and disheveled, soaking wet by the end of the speech. And without that teleprompter, this guy really, really struggles. Trump completely incoherent, and I dare you to make sense of what he's saying here.
Bragg's people protested, and the judge knocked him out, said you can't testify. He actually said you can't testify for anything having to do with the trial. You can say what the federal elections is. Well, that doesn't help. Everybody knows that. But you can't.
Guys, you can say what the federal's elections is. Don't you get it?
Testify. So essentially, he wasn't able to testify. Other people weren't able to testify. But with these people, they were able to use people salacious. By the way, and nothing ever.
They were able to use people salacious. Don't you know what federal's elections is?
Happened. There was no anything. Nothing ever happened, and they know it. But they were as salacious as they could be.
Yep. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I genuinely don't know. Now, he did address to some degree why he didn't testify. Why didn't he testify? We know the real reason. The real reason is he would immediately perjure himself. There is no story that is an alternative explanation of the facts that would not be a lie that Trump could have told. Here is Trump, I guess, trying to explain why he didn't testify.
So you're going to call it. Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words,
we don't even know what he's saying, but it's not true. He could have testified. He would have been able to explain his version of events. And if it would have been true and maybe useful in some way, it would have been advisable for him to do it. Of course, every one of his lawyers knew it would be a complete and total disaster. Trump then talking about whether he was a bad boy. This speech getting so strange, and everybody cuts away from it eventually. You'll see in a moment. It's wild.
the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case.
My client has been a very good boy, Your Honor, please. Trump says that his witnesses were literally crucified, by which I assume he means figuratively crucified, although I don't know what Trump is claiming here.
As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert.
Right.
Under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil.
There you go. He looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. Sounds like the good first verse for some kind of heavy metal song. And then a confused Trump repeats the same thing 15 minutes apart about a Daily Mail poll. You'll see, if you're watching, you'll see the clock in the upper left go from about 11:15 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Trump just tells the same story again, has no idea what he's talked about, rambling aimlessly, no memory of what he said 15 minutes earlier.
Because I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out, was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially.
Right.
We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and it says something differently. A poll
okay, so now it's 13 minutes later.
just came out. The first poll, I don't know, maybe others will be bad. But a poll just came out a little while ago. The Daily Mail. Does anybody read the Daily Mail? It's very good. They have a good poll.
Yeah.
At least I like it today. And the Daily Mail just came out with a poll, and It has Trump up 6 points in the
Okay, so 13 minutes earlier, he had already talked about that. This is getting really bad. And so the networks start dumping. CNBC is the first network to dump out of this fiasco.
hush money, hush money. It's not hush money. It's called a non-disclosure agreement. And most of the people in this room have a non-disclosure agreement with their company. It's a disgrace. So it's not hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement, totally legal.
By the way, why he says disclosure? Disclosure.
Totally common. Everyone has it. And what happened is...
You've been listening to former President Donald Trump speaking at Trump Tower, reacting in a broader way to the...
I love the characterization. They don't know how to say it's a completely aimless rant. So she says he's reacting in a broader way. Yes, by talking about polls and who knows what else. CNN then cuts it and refers to the entire thing as a rant, and also says that without his prompter, Trump sounds disjointed, which is certainly charitable.
It's very bad for friends and businesses, but I'm honored to be involved in it because somebody has to do it, and I might as well keep going and be the one.
Right.
But I'm very honored to be involved because we're fighting for...
We're going to continue to monitor Donald Trump and his remarks. He's making very, very strong statements, and we're going to have a fact check on those statements coming up shortly. Daniel Dale is standing by. Aaron, we're listening to the former president of the United States say, and I'm quoting him now, "We are living in a fascist state." He refers to the trial as a scam, a rigged trial.
Yeah.
He says he would have loved to have testified. He could have testified. It was his decision not to testify. He said, quote, "I would have loved to have testified." And then he went after some of the witnesses, including Michael Cohen, for example, potentially a violation of the gag order that has been imposed by the judge against him. Aaron, we're going to continue to listen to what the former president has to say, but clearly, without a teleprompter, he's going off the cuff. He's railing against almost everything.
Yeah, and Wolf, you know, the fascist state, of course, the line that stands out. But as you point out,
I love that. He's against everything. I love that. He's railing against almost everything. It's genius. Oh man, Wolf Blitzer with it, like the fact that he's so serious makes it so good. And then eventually MSNBC relents as well and is like, we got to fact check some of this stuff.
This is a case that should not have been brought. I watched Andy McCarthy say this is a case that should not have been brought. And that was this morning.
we'll keep an eye on this press conference. Donald Trump in his first real news conference, you could call it, following his guilty verdicts, 34 counts, all guilty. And so now he is railing on the justice system, railing on the judge, and continuing to say many of the similar things we heard throughout the trial. It's important for us to at least fact check some of them at the moment.
We couldn't possibly fact check all of it, but we're going to try to at least fact check some of it. And then here's like the sort of cherry on top. Even on Fox News, their anchor is like, they said it would be a press conference, but he's like not really taking questions.
November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
So the president talked for about 40 minutes. We were expecting the former commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, to take questions. This had been billed as a news conference and that reporters would be at least available. There would be the former president for their questions.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen, Harris, unfortunately for you and for everybody else, I guess, because I was hoping to see some questions. So what a wild event, and every network struggling to understand what that was. Not a stable genius at this point in time, that's for sure. It's important to me that any supplement I take is of the highest quality and freshness, and that's why I've been turning to AG1 for years. Unlike other vitamin brands, AG1 conducts relentless testing for purity and potency. It's tested for 950 contaminants and banned substances, while the industry standard is usually to test for only 10. AG1 is NSF certified for sport, one of the most rigorous independent quality and safety certifications out there. And the whole reason I drink AG1 is it just is simple. It simplifies everything. It's a scoop a day. I get my vitamins and my minerals, and that's all I need. And the probiotics in AG1 are something I'm particularly glad is there. So AG1 just replaces the vitamin bottles, the digestive aids, all of the things that you might otherwise be taking individually. It's quicker, it's more cost effective than buying everything individually. You can go to drinkag1.com/Pacman to get a free year supply of vitamin D and K, plus 5 free AG1 travel packs. The link is down below.